a hand on the box, and went to the register to see what we had made while he was gone. When Uncle Terry came back, Dad handed him an envelope and told him to shut up when he tried to explain himself. You'll be at the Olsen Park track tomorrow for the first race. You will take the money in the envelope, you will bet every cent of it on Mama's boy to win in the first race, and you will bring me all the winnings back. If you lose that money, I will put this thing in the window, I will sell it as a regular radio, and you will never be allowed to purchase anything for the shop again. And if he wins? Terry had asked, but Dad didn't answer. Grandpa took a sip of his beer then, and got a faraway look as he contemplated. That was just how Grandpa told stories. He always looked like he was living in the times when he was talking about, and I suppose in a lot of ways he was. He was going back to the 1960s, the most interesting time of his young life, to a time when he encountered something he couldn't quite explain. So did he win? I asked, invested now, as we sat in the apartment above the shop, drinking beer and watching it rain. Oh yes, Grandpa said he won, and when Uncle Terry came back with the money, I think Dad was as surprised as Terry was. Terry had been using it, but it always felt like he was operating under the idea that it was some kind of monkey's paw situation, and that after a while there would be an accounting for what he had won. When a month went by, however, and there was no downside to using a radio, Terry got a little more comfortable. He started to ask other things, the results of boxing matches, horse races, sporting events, and anything else he could use to make money. It got so bad that his fingers started to look like pin cushions, and he started cutting into his palms and arms. It seemed like more blood equaled better results, and sometimes he could get a play-by-play if he bled more for it. Dad would use it sparingly, still not liking to give it his blood, but Uncle Terry was adamant about it. It was a mania in him, and even though it hurt him, he used it a lot. He could always be seen hanging around that radio, talking to it and feeding it. Dad didn't like the method, but he liked the money it brought in. The shop was doing better than ever, thanks to the cash injection from Spirit Radio, and Dad was buying better things to stock it with. He bought some cars, some luxury electronics, and always at a net gain to the store once they sold. Times were good, everyone was doing well, but that's when Uncle Terry took it too far. He brought the bottle to his mouth, but it didn't quite make it. It seemed to get stuck halfway there, the contents spilling on his undershirt as he watched the rain. He jumped when the cold liquid touched him and righted it, putting it down before laughing at himself. He shook the drops off his shirt and looked back at the rain, running his tongue over his dry lips. One night, we tied on a few too many, and my uncle got this really serious look on his face. He staggered downstairs, despite Dad yelling at him and asking where he was going. We started yelling. We ran downstairs to see what was going on. He was leaning over to the Spirit Radio, the tip of his finger dribbling as he yelled at it. He held out, letting the blood fall onto the crystal dish on top of the radio, and as it came to life, he put his ruddy face very close to the wooden cabinet and blistered out his question. Clearly not for the first time. When will I die? The radio was silent, the lights blinking, but it didn't return an answer. He cut another finger, asking the same question, but it still never returned an answer. Before we could stop him, he had split his palm almost to the wrist, and as the blood dripped onto the stones, he nearly screamed his question at it. When will I die? The Spirit Radio still said nothing, and Dad and I had to restrain him before he could do it again. We don't know what brought this on, we never found out, but Uncle Terry became very interested in death, and more specifically, when he was going to die. I don't know, maybe all this spirit talk got him thinking. Maybe he was afraid that one day his voice was going to come out of that radio. Whatever the case, Dad put a stop to using it. He hid the thing, and he had to keep moving it, because Uncle Terry always found again. He would hide it for a day or two, but eventually, we would find him, bleeding from his palms, and pressing his face against it.